last week was a disappointing week, and then we I think kind of retooled and looked at things and had some good practice time and had a little bit more time and played pretty well for all but the first 5 minutes in a game that was in front of a very hostile crowd. I think one of the best crowds that we played in front of this year. We had a lot of guys that did some good things on Friday. Malik Hall leading the way, of course, hitting some big shots. AJ playing one of his best games. Joey hit the big free throws and rebounded the daylights out of the ball. And believe it or not, even though Gabe was 1 for 7, we felt like defensively and rebounding, he maybe played one of his best games in that respect. So we got a lot of good play, a lot of people. Had a decent practice on Sunday when we get back, but another big challenge in Illinois. And I think the problem's going to be for all fans and media is before it's all said and done, I think you'll see the teams where they belong. But the road to get there, and Illinois is one, they're a very, very good team coming off a pair of losses, but they had a tough loss to Purdue and then a loss to Maryland, where Maryland played very well. Sometimes it's about the matchups, but they also play without Kofi. And then the other kid that's getting back, Carbello, I guess was sicker than a dog that game, only played 14 minutes. So what's really hard for you as fans that you're trying to get the word across to is you never know who's healthy, who's not. I still say Marcus Bingham is just starting to practice a little better. You know, COVID hurt him 3 weeks ago, and then everybody responds differently, so you don't know what you're getting. It's a tough prep. Not sure if Kofi will play or not. I think he will. And, you know, not having a lot of tape on Carbello and what he does to that lineup. He comes back, his first game back, he gets 20 points. Next game, he really struggles because more of illness and sickness. But they have a very veteran team. The Plummer kid is transferred in. He's a fifth-year kid. You know, Frazier's fifth. I think Williams is sixth. You know, Granderson and then they've got some other transfers that are playing as their bigs. But Kofi's a man with 18 points, 11 rebounds. He's a lot to try to game plan for. But the leadership of Frazier, I think, has been really good. And of course, Granderson and Plummer are playing very well. But I think Williams is a big key too. He's kind of their glue guy. He's their Draymond. He just kind of keeps everybody together. Doesn't care if he gets shots. If he does get them, he can knock down threes. Probably one of their best defenders. And you know, with Carbello coming back, what that'll do to the lineup, I'm not sure Brad knows, so I sure as hell know I don't know. But so there's a lot of guessing, and that makes it a little more difficult to game plan for. But that's the way the whole year is going to be. And I think for the end, you know, you're going to see the teams like Illinois, who are a top 10 team, Michigan, who was a top 10 team. Those teams are all going to come back to who they are and what they are. It's just that, you know, in Illinois' case, there were injuries early, there were COVID early, there were learning to play without Carbello, then Kofi missed some games early. So records are not always indicative of the team, and that's, I think, where we are right now. So exciting time for us, chance to go on the road, tough stretch with 4 out of 5 games on the road, but what a great opportunity to go down to Champaign and play another, we know is a very quality team. I mean, they'll probably be ranked in the top 25 today, but you know, in the lower mid-20s, but we know that that's a top 10, 15 team, especially if they get everybody on the same page and get back together with their health and injuries. Questions?
You guys are 4-0 on the road now after Friday. Seems like you played some of your best basketball in these true road games, tough environments. What are they about this team or to make up you think that's allowed to do that?
Well, for the most part, we've been pretty good defensively, and that's how you got to win on the road. For the most part, we've been a pretty good rebounding team. That's all you gotta win on the road. We've been a better offensive team, and we seem to not take care of the ball. We're not prejudiced. We'll do it at home or on the road. We'll do it both. So we're pretty equal opportunity in that respect. But I think when you defend pretty well, from both the 3 and the 2, that really helps you, especially on the road.
Tom, you referenced being uncertain whether Kofi's going to play, and obviously you got to kind of prepare like he's gonna. If he doesn't, you adjust. If he's in or out, is this a big adjustment in terms of the game plan, or is it something that you feel like if he's not in there, you can adjust pretty easily to or quickly to, or is it really significant when he's not? Do they change a ton when he's not in that lineup?
Have you seen him?
I'm asking you to understand it.
I mean, like going down to the Michigan Avenue, is the Capitol there or is it not there? Did they put a 7-Eleven in place of the Capitol? I mean, wow. No, I know that sounds insulting. I'm not saying it insulting.
I understand the impact he has. What I'm talking about is how you guys approach it.
Schematically,
in there or out there.
want to get technical, we go analytics, schematics. You know what it comes down to? This is a real good case of whether we can block and tackle. We can use football analogy because he's got to be blocked, probably tackled, and everything else. No, you know, I mean, 18-11 is 18-11. You know, they do play differently without him. More of an open post when he's not in there, more of a closed post when he is in there. But those guards are also good and they can score in so many ways. They make shots, boy, and at times if they're really making shots, they're really good. And so, you know, I mean, I think he'll play. He's big and strong, and I don't know how bad the injury is, so I say that without real knowledge. But it's not like I'm saying it thinking, well, let's prepare for him. You know, the hardest thing to do, and we learned it both ways, and I learned my lesson. We played Northwestern and found out right before the game that their big kid wasn't playing. He was 18-11 too. And I think that hurt us, because I think our guys said, well, you know, so we go to Wisconsin, we find out that Wall may not play. So I addressed that before we even went out on the court the first time, as soon as I found it out. The other one I waited until game time because I wasn't sure. And I just said, you know, we learned a lesson last week. Don't worry about who's playing, worry about what we got to do. And this week, we're not going to be that stupid, because that's what we were. That hurt us. And so you know, this game, the problem is you got 2 key players. And I know Corbello is going to play, at least I'm 99% sure. But how does he play now? You know, I watched him at the beginning of the year, and he was out for 12 games or whatever, 10 games. And then I watched him against Purdue, and he was like an all-star guard. And then I watched him against Maryland, and I was a little disappointed in how he played. And then I found out that he had a high temperature and had been sick, and not with COVID, I don't think, just the flu, but was sicker than a dog. So that's what's so hard. And how will they play with him? What does that mean for Frazier? Are they going to go real small and go with 3 6-foot guards and that can all handle it and shoot it? Are they going to do something different? You know, I don't know that. It's just speculative and your guess. But we are going to try to prepare for both. But I said we do got to prepare more for us. And, you know, we're going to do what we're going to do. We're going to make a couple adjustments if Kofi's in there. It's easier said than done, and a couple adjustments if he's not in there. But he's a big fella that can score a lot of points, so don't take it insulting. I was just joking with you. I didn't know if you ever saw him play.
Tom, speaking of guys impacted by that, Marcus Bingham is somebody who will be impacted by Kofi's presence, and I think for a lot of the years he did well against good matchups. We're sort of waiting to see how he'd do against something like that. What did you see when you watched the film back from Wisconsin, and Are you still intrigued by how he'll handle something like that if Kobe's playing?
That's a good word. I am intrigued by it. You know, he actually had maybe as good a practice, both mentally and physically, the other day. I mean, he was really into knowing what was going on. I mean, it's not been an easy run for him, and yet, in fairness, I do think, as we've talked to him and looked at things, you know, I do think he's a guy that COVID was not helpful to. Not an excuse, just a fact. He just didn't have the same energy. He was rebounding, blocking shots. But he is coming back around, and I think that'll be a big key. He's got size, he's got length on him. You know, and Kofi is not like he's running around a lot, but we got to do a team job on him, not an individual job. On the other side of it, we think Mark can score on him. It's not like Kofi is a big shot blocker in that, so we got to go at him too a little bit and see what we can do there.
With those maybe first 5 minutes, and I think you had 6 turnovers in the first 10 minutes in that game.
5 in the first 6.5. Yeah.
What was it the last maybe 25 minutes of that game or 30 minutes of that game that allowed the guards particularly, but everybody to kind of maybe minimize those and get things moving?
You know, it's funny you asked that question, because we talked about some poor starts, and so I said, let's go back and look at the first 6 minutes of the Wisconsin game, and we did. I think we had 5 turnovers. Marcus hit an inside-out 3. We had a good shot on the wing, and maybe 1 bad shot. So you add all those things in, and we felt like we had 2 opportunities to score in the first 7 or 8 possessions. I mean, that's ridiculous, you know. And you know, the turnovers, you know, for some reason, I don't know if guys are too hyped, trying to do too much. You know, Gabe's trying to go between his legs and do things. Then we didn't come up on a swing play, and they picked that off. A little bit Joey's fault too, and we just there's always something. There's an offensive foul, but to play that many possessions and not really have many chances to score, that's what we're trying to correct. So we've again showed a lot of film, trying to look at how ridiculous some of them are. And when we did settle down, you saw a much better, a much more efficient offensive team. I didn't think we ran like we're capable. We did for a little bit, but we didn't sustain that. And that's what we're working on, improving on the turnovers, improving on the rebounding. It wasn't because the rebound totals were like they were. It was, we did a better job grading out. Meaning, did we go to the offensive boards? Yes. Did we cut out people? Yes. So we did a better job in that area, and that's what you got to do.
Tom, when you, obviously this point of the year, when you go into a game against Wisconsin and you're able to hold off that late rally by the Badgers, come back, you go on a 7-0 run, what did you learn about your team maybe and how that helps you going forward in this season, especially in road games in the Big Ten?
You know, it's funny because the second half, I felt like we were in control the whole half, even when they cut it. I mean, everybody's going to make a run. They're going to make a run. And we made one real crazy error in that time that led to, you know, maybe 3 points. But I thought for the most part, guys knew we could run our offense. We felt like we could score if we just didn't turn the ball over. And so I learned that they have some resiliency. I learned that Malik, who had as good a game as he's had, was really good in the huddles. That's where you need your players to be good in those huddles, because somebody's got to say, hey, settle down. We need a bucket here. Let's get the best shot. When the coach says it, it's always, that's what the coach always says. When a player says it, I thought Malik did a great job for us during that period of time.
Tom, we talk about depth being your greatest asset. Can you recall a game where maybe you outscored a team 43-7 off the bench, a top 10 team, and is that something that's going to be even more important down the stretch as injuries and illness comes in?
Yeah, you know, you don't know, because if injuries and illness comes in, it definitely will be. But if they don't, or they don't on the opponent, and now you're playing your best 5 like some of these teams are doing. I mean, Illinois is playing 4 guys 30-some minutes a game. You know, that can work both ways, I guess. But I think in the atmosphere we're in right now, with the number of people getting either sick or hurt, you know, and you wonder all these injuries, you know. I don't know, I've never seen so many injuries too, you know, but that's in pro ball, college balls, because people are bigger, stronger, faster, because, you know, people are worried about their NIL or their pro careers. I don't know, you know, why people, but there seems to be a lot more people out. So I think our depth is important. The surprising thing in that game, I think every guy that played scored a point, and that doesn't happen all the time either. So we're sharing the ball, we're moving the ball a little bit better. We've got different guys that can score it. The guy that maybe struggles shooting the best, and to me is our best shooter, and that's Gabe. So I think he'll bounce back from that, and then it'll be an advantage for us, I think, before it's all said and done. But it is amazing. Some teams are going with an iron 5 or 6, and I think that can really affect, you know, we're trying to tell guys like Pierre and Marty to be ready, because one guy gets injured and it changes everything, or one guy gets sick and it changes everything so much. And I'm telling you, that is a hard thing in scouting teams right now, is figuring out or looking at, you know, win-losses, or listening to, you know, sometimes we'll try to read up on people, and everybody has a different perception, and so many times it could be COVID injuries or other things.
Tom, talked the other day about AJ, deservedly so, how well he played, but I feel like we kind of missed that second half, the way Tyson played. It seemed like he bounced back really well, got to the hoop a couple times.
Yeah.
I mean, I assume you gotta feel pretty good about where those guys are together right now at this point.
It's a double-edged sword, you know. I think they both can come at it, two-headed monster, if you want to look at it that way. And I think we have that there. We have it at the 4, you know. We look at, you know, Joey, how did he play? Again, Joey grades out better and made big free throws, is shooting 90% from the line or something, high 80s. But he had 7 points, but he had 11 rebounds. So Malik had 14 points, but he had, I don't know, 7 or 8 rebounds too. I think we had 20-some points and almost 19 rebounds between them. I think that's the way it can be for AJ, and they're different kinds of players. One's bigger and stronger, one's a little quicker, gets to the hole, one's a phenomenal passer, one's phenomenal with the ball. I think they both could be great defenders. I think, you know, right now AJ's working on that off-ball defense, but you are right, Tyson played very well in the second half of that game and did some good things. And for the first time in a while, we played those two together a little bit more too, which you might see more of as AJ starts playing better and better and better, because Tyson's the better shooter. AJ has spent some time in the gym working on his free throws, as you can only imagine. That has improved greatly in the last couple of games. So what you emphasize, what you get, it doesn't change, never has, but kind of hope it's player emphasizing, not always coach emphasizing.
With those turnovers in the first half, the other side of that was you guys defended at a really high level at that point, I guess. When you have, I mean, how much does that piece help to maybe offset some of those issues? And even looking back at the second half, how did you feel they defended, even though Wisconsin maybe hit some tough shots?
Yeah, you know, that was amazing, because what they scored, like 46 points in the second half, which is, you'd think you'd be upset about it. I mean, Davidson he hit about 4 threes from everywhere. So you can accept some of that. I mean, it comes down to, are you doing your job, you know? And but I think the defensive part of it, you know, I'm sorry, I see Dan here, and I'm a little late, so I apologize, Dan, and he should have gone in front of me. But you got a good goalie, you got a good defense in hockey, you're gonna win. You got, you know, good defenses. I mean, the Bills had the best defense in the whole year, and it kind of let them down in that last. Defense does win for you, and but there is times, we saw it last night if you watched a little football. I think you saw it in our game at Wisconsin, when good offense trumps good defense. It usually doesn't consistently do that, but the great ones, good offense can sometimes hurt good defense, and I think our defense consistently, I think we're 1 or 2 in the league, both in the 3-point and the total. And what we weren't doing, even though we were a decent rebounding team, we weren't finishing our defense and letting teams offensive rebound. We corrected it for 1 game. It's consistency that'll tell the story whether we're going to be doing that on a regular basis.
Anything else, guys? Ladies?
Sorry, Dan, but thanks. See you guys that are going.
You know, safe travels.
Coach.